Good day. Welcome to the VPA. And one of the challenges we are having with church is how can we live in a society that is not church. And one of the things that we want to discuss today is Carnival and the involvement the youth have, or how far should a youth be involved in Carnival, or by chance how far anybody should be involved in Carnival. With me is the Right Reverend Dr. Bishop Nolan Warner, and we come to discuss the Carnival scenario and how can we live in a world where Christ is not the center. Welcome, Pastor, and how are you today?
It's good to be here, and I think I'm doing all right.
Well, that's important. One of the questions last night, maybe this morning, came to my mind is a question I think we could start off this way. Is Carnival a cultural expression or a demonic possession?
I think it's both. And when I say both, I want to be careful. For me, I come from a very conservative Christian perspective. We do not speak for the entire Christian realm. We speak specific to that brand of Christianity that considers itself both evangelical, biblical, and conservative. So we're not here to respond to every question regarding whether it's demonic or cultural. But we're going to take a very biblical one, and two, a conservative perspective. So the liberals may not necessarily agree with where we're heading with this. Is it a demonic expression? Yes, because the very deities that Carnival started off with and continue to run on are expressions of worship. So our biblical frame will have three portions of scripture that mention the word homos, which talks in terms of reveling, especially with drunkenness or the use of alcohol.
Yeah.
The words used would be rioting. In the King James Version, it could either be a riot or revel. And it gives the indication of unrestrained interactions that are not necessarily moral. They would normally happen in the night. So again, the cover of darkness or the acceptance of that type of behavior is shrouded in a sense of acceptance by the very nature of it being in the dark. So that's the demonic, or that is the deity perspective. But is it cultural? Sure it is. The art forms, the wire bending, the costuming, etc., are indeed artistic and therefore cultural. The carnival that we have in Trinidad is unique to Trinidad, therefore it is culturally based. The music that you hear in Trinidad Carnival is not the same that you hear in Brazil or Miami, except they're sampling parts of what we have here. So no, it is cultural, it is unique, and therefore it is cultural to Trinidad and Tobago. So you have a situation where it's uniquely cultural, and at the same time, it's generally coming from a place that is not basically Christian.
Now, I'm a youth in the church.
Yeah.
I like to play pan or listen to pan. Or I want to get the historical value of the Camberley riots. So I want to go down in town and watch this or listen to this. How do I balance my Christian life with this same culture that we speak about?
It's not easily balanced. Let me throw it in there one time. As an academic, involving yourself from an academic perspective, because that's what we're talking about. Once I'm going to look at, I'm taking a very academic perspective, but I'm also a Trinidadian. And we grew up on the music, we grew up on the formations. So it's the balance is not easily arrived at, even as an academic. Even if I'm just going to get the academic value of this, so I have an assignment to do. I'm in UTT or I'm in A levels or K, and I'm just going to get the academic value of it. It's not easy because the music starts. I'm going to start tapping my feet.
Yeah, Trinidad.
Because I'm Trinidad.
Yeah.
The song start to play. And if they repeat the song twice, I've already caught. I have the catcher in.
Especially if it's infectious.
Yes. So I heard Marshall Montano this morning, and he's going jump, 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 and it's easy if that starts to play for me. For it to just flash back in my head, the lyrics are not complex. The chords are not complex, so it's easy.
Normally 3 chords.
Yeah. See,
yeah.
So
and a hook line.
No, that's it. That's it. And I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So part of the reality is when you say, how do I balance that? That is not an easy balance. Can it be done? Yes, the attempt could be made. But the consciousness of why I'm there and the consciousness of remaining separate and apart from the activities on the day. So I can't be in the middle of the wine, in the middle of the band, in the middle of the panorama. See, I'm taking notes.
In the middle of Juve.
Right, that's funny. That's funny. I'm taking pictures for it. You're gonna come home dirty, people go wind up on you. In fact, I heard the police commissioner saying last night on the news that please don't wind up on her officers. Don't gyrate on her officers because it's disrespectful. So if the law enforcement are not exempt from being interfered with in the line of their official duty, why you an academic will not be interfered with? So in a very real way, you say to me, could a balance be found? Mentally, yes. Physically, that's going to be difficult. That's going to be very, very difficult. Spiritually, yes.
That's where I'm going now, because what foundation should have biblically that would guide me as a youth, a young person, an adult? Because this is not just categorized for young people only. Because sometimes, I heard a song about the spirit in the sky or something like that. Once that begin to get, as you say, tap in your foot, the battle is half won for the devil. Now the question is, how can I use biblical principles to guide me through this season?
The two things I want to mention. One is, Christ himself said, if any man will follow me, he's got to deny himself, take up his cross, and follow. And so for the conservative Christian, that aspect of denying self, taking up that sacrificial walk and following Christ, I've got to ask myself, would Christ be caught in this type of activity? And if he won't, I can't go there. I can't be involved at that participatory level. I can't. But secondly, the Bible talks about, in Galatians chapter 5, it talks about the work of the flesh, of which reveling or homos is part of that. But also in that same passage talks about the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit does not accord itself with that type of licentious, gyrating, reveling. It does not accord itself with that. And so if I'm going to find that balance, I've got to say, will Christ do this? And if there is not that, but then I can't. But also, is this going to further my engagement of the Spirit of God as I follow through on doing? So I know people find, okay, I'll go play pan, I'll do panorama, I won't be jumping up. But you're a part of this celebration. You're a part of the reveling. You're causing people to. And this is not indirectly, this is directly. It's because of you. And so for me, from my conservative perspective, I'll say I'm going to try to avoid that at every point and not engage. Now, we started off by saying, we're not speaking for all. We're not even speaking for all persons who are evangelicals, because there are some liberals out there who may think, but this is not doing me anything. I'm not doing anything sinful directly, so I'm not. But if I am causing my brother to sin,
Yes.
then I have a challenge
Yes.
there as well. I do have a challenge.
I was at a workplace of a youth, should say, and I know he's a Christian. I know he's go to church, not the VBA. And he and his other co-workers were looking online for tickets for Marshall. And I just went up to him and I said, don't go anywhere that Christ is not invited. Because sometimes we tend to feel that, it's a okay scene, it's cool. And you brought up that just now that says, if it causing your brother to stumble, don't do it. The same thing we talk about the meat.
Right.
If it's causing someone else who probably look up to you, see you on TV,
Waving a flag, whining back, it's going to be challenging.
and let's say you're not waving a flag, let's say you're not whining back, but they see you just flash across the screen. That's the main idea that you there. They begin to associate what that is with you.
It's challenging, complex. As we try to stretch it out to simplify, we've got to see to our people, not just young people, because I look at all of this. It's not just young people showing up in those parties.
That is correct.
I look at people, and I would want to advise very, very clearly. The ills of Carnival are so very deep. People lose their virginity, mostly male and female, at Carnival. Rapes happen mostly in Trinidad. The most amount of reported rapes happen just in this Carnival period. While we're telling ourselves the police is there and we have a safe Carnival, that has to be measured in terms of unreported crimes, facilities that are open to people who have experimented with drugs and it didn't go well. So you have all of these, again, a number of it, and you say to me, okay, what about if none of these things are not involved in any of these things, but you're participating in something that Christ did? We've got to hammer that home, that your holiness is crucial. Your testimony, crucial. Your conscience, and God is bigger than your conscience. Your conscience allowing you to go in there. So you say to me, we buy tickets. I look for tickets for you to go to Marshall. Am I doing anything wrong?
Facilitating.
I'm facilitating it. And this is not me saying something is wrong with Marshall. No, Marshall is doing Marshall. This is not me saying something wrong with Kesaniban or Iowa or whoever it is. I'm not there. They're doing them. That's from there. They will also be held to account at the end of these. But for the person who's making a profession of faith in Christ, that's a different standard that we're called to. I was saying to my wife this morning, I heard the interview of Marshall being sagacious and trying to talk about making these wise statements. And I'm saying to myself, your statements fall short because your actions do not accord itself with the statements that you're making. And the Christian can't afford to fall for that, where our actions do not live up to the biblical frame that we're professing. And no, it can't be like that. We've got to stick to the Bible. We've got to stick. And again, I want to return. Remember, we started off by saying we're going to be biblical, we're going to be conservative, we're going to be evangelical. So in that frame, so I'm not talking for the parochial churches. I'm talking for those evangelical groups.
And we have one more bit. What about the youth who is getting that peer pressure? I mean, I don't know if Carnival Camp was invented because of this.
Yes,
but
yes, it was.
What do you do to the person who is staying at home for Carnival, not going to camp, and might be a good excuse or a good way to go incognito because you're in a mask or you're in a costume? To do you do?
How do you hide from God? How do you hide from God? How do you hide from yourself? How does your conscience allow you to do that? And your plans, while well laid, might be the end